from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Talking Catholic. This is Mary McCusker, and I'm joined by Mike Walsh. And you'll have to forgive us both because we are recording this podcast very early in the day. And by early, I mean...
Wait a second. Hold on. I'm all for, letting the listeners in on a little snapshot of how we're recording, but it's not early in the day, even by my standards. It's 11:25.
Okay. We usually record these late in the afternoon after every... I'm still half asleep. You're still grumpy. And usually it's in the afternoon after I've had all my coffee and you've talked to people and are in better spirits. So the listeners will have to bear with us this morning.
In my defense, usually by 10 a.m., I am ready to interact with other human beings. So I should be fine. But actually, this is nice because after having a spate of Zoom calls the last couple of weeks, we're back together again. This is the first time we're actually in your stomping grounds at Catholic Charities in the Diocese of Camden in the boardroom here. And I don't think we've recorded in this building since Cindy LeBron in the fall of last year, maybe.
Yeah. I don't remember even seeing you in this room. This is where all the Catholic Charities staff meet. So this is throwing me off a little bit.
I used to be in this room a lot, and then I got uninvited to a number of meetings. So I didn't get a chance to come.
See, case in point to our listeners, he is grumpy at this hour. He's grumpy. You know what? These days he's grumpy all day long, but he has a lot on his plate, so I guess it's forgiving.
You're not wrong about any of what you just said. However, I'm trying my best. But anyway, I am happy that we're at least all together. We're socially distanced. You and I are. The reason we chose the boardroom was I had the biggest table, so you and I are probably about 10 feet away from each other right now.
Yes.
So we're being very careful with our COVID times, social distancing, but this is nice. Plus, you and I are spending a ton of time together lately because we are prepping for one of the big events of the year.
Yes. Right? Yes, we are.
And it's completely different than anything we've ever done before, right?
Yes, and maybe that's why I'm so tired. I was awake at 2 a.m. thinking about the very event and topic that we'll be discussing today.
Dear listeners, if you've ever wondered about getting into event management, just know that it basically means you lose a lot of sleep because you worry about everything. You worry about every little technical thing.
I'm not even the event coordinator, but this event means more to me than anything. I mean, this event every year is so important. I guess I should say what the event is.
Well, it's the...
Instead of building the suspense.
Well, it's the annual Justice for All dinner that's been held with, I think this is going to be the 16th annual?
17th.
17th annual. How did that happen? Oh, my goodness. 17.
I know. Except it's not a dinner this year. I keep saying Justice for All dinner, but obviously with COVID, it is the Justice for All virtual awards ceremony.
It is. And
so, unfortunately, there will be no dinner this year or gathering,
which is a shame because year after year the dinner it's always the last several years have been held in Atlantic City at resorts and at the ballroom there, and they've always been very generous with us, and the dinners there have been outstanding. 2 years we had it in the Superstar Theater, and then last year it was so huge we had to move it into their ballroom, but the meals are outstanding. So I am trying to convince your executive director to still take us out for dinner, even though it's a virtual event. So I'll let you know how that goes. But
we will see how well that flies.
That is an excellent transition into introducing our guests.
Yes.
So Mary, whom do we have with us today?
We have Kevin Hickey, Executive Director of Catholic Charities, Diocese of Camden. Kevin, welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Michael. I hereby commit on this podcast to dinner. I will buy dinner.
All right.
Yeah, in celebration of their...
He didn't say for whom, but okay, that's good. Hopefully we're invited.
Yes, you too, and then whoever else you tell me to. Because, of course, dear listeners, I am merely a puppet and shoved around by various people today by Mike Walsh and Mary McCusker. So that's my lot in life. But I do, as I was listening to the two of you talking about this, I was thinking about 17 years worth of this dinner and honestly feeling grateful to both of you for all the work you've done for this. And I know when Mike was telling listeners about event management, another thing is once you have competence in event management, you keep being inexorably drawn back into it, it seems to me, which you have.
Because I hate it.
You were an event planner for how long, Mike? You used to do this
professionally.
full-time.
Well, I did it. This is the third job I've done it in. I did it for 4.5 years with the wonderful people at Volunteers of America, Delaware Valley, where I started my career.
I'm not even going to say it. Wonderful people there.
They were
wonderful agency.
It is. We ran a big gala event there for many years, and that's how I got my start. But then I did that as a communications director or a manager, and then I did it for a much larger company that specialized in event management for about 5 years, where we did major events all around the world. And then I made the mistake of putting that on my resume when I came here. And I've been doing a lot of event management ever since.
And we're lucky to have Stacy Napolitano.
Yes.
We have to give her a ton of credit because she's, the full-time event planner. And I have only gotten a glimpse into everything it takes, all the people you're dealing with, all the, technical programs and software and behind the scenes work and vendors and the money. Just so much is involved, and it has been really eye-opening to see just how much goes into it. But with this event, it's one of those events where that the stress and the work and everything put into it is for, I can't think of a better cause.
Well, that's a great point to Kevin. Is what is the point of the Justice for All gathering? Although this year we'll call it a virtual awards dinner. So 17 years ago, what was the genesis of it?
And there was no dinner, no annual event 17 years ago.
Oh, really?
And the Catholic Charities had never done this, and was challenged by then Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio, who once upon a time was the executive director of Catholic Charities for Archdiocese of Newark. So he was bringing a lot of practical experience, and he gently said, you need to have a dinner. And so the first dinner was 2004, and he actually was on his way out. He was leaving the Diocese of Camden for the Diocese of Brooklyn, and Bishop Galante. And so the first dinner was several days before Bishop Galante was installed.
Wow.
Yeah. So there were two reasons to have the dinner. One was to raise money. And we decided, keep in mind that this was born, so to speak, in the midst of the crisis facing the church of sex abuse. And we thought it was important to raise money for our work, which is working with poor and vulnerable people. So the commitment was made then that all the money we raised, all the net, would go for direct assistance. And we've kept true to that. Mm-hmm. So none of the money is used for administrative expenses, etc. It all gets pushed out the door, so to speak, across the diocese, all 6 counties.
And that stayed true for the past 17 years, right?
Right, yeah. And then the other thing was to lift up the work of charity and justice. And our current incarnation of that is the Disciples of Mercy, which I think is, I've been thinking, Mike and Mary, about lauding the two of you for your contributions to this event. But I was thinking everybody who's touched it at some point over the years has added something. And so I'll credit Mike Lasky with the Disciples of Mercy. That was his kind of thing.
No, do we have to?
Well,
no, I was kidding.
it's an
he's
example.
now a podcast competitor. I don't know if I can be.
Well, okay.
He's got his own podcast for the Jesuits now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He does. Yeah. It's really good. I'm just kidding. Actually, he does deserve a great deal of credit. In fact, he was a very forward-thinking guy when he was heading up the Life and Justice office here in the Diocese of Camden. I don't know if I realized he was the genesis of that.
In 2015, he came up with the idea of, in addition to one, main honoree, let's honor some local people around the diocese who are kind of the unsung heroes. They don't look for limelight or attention, but they carry out works of mercy, works of charity. And I think the term Disciples of Mercy was coined during the Jubilee Year of Mercy, right?
That's correct. Good memory, Mary.
Thank you. Yeah. I never hear that compliment ever, especially from Mike, but...
Oh, wow. All right, I just want to point out, we're recording this in the morning, but Mary is definitely the meaner of the two of us right now.
It's possible. I'm sorry. I'll tone it down a little bit.
No, I enjoy a good dig. Go right ahead. It's fine. Keep continuing.
But yes, the Disciples of Mercy. And every year, I know for me, it's just it's a humble reminder. You know, I'm here at Catholic Charities all the time, and I see what my wonderful, amazing colleagues do every single day. But, you know, you have to remember that there are people all over the diocese who do similar things, you know, for free and have been doing it for a very, very long time. And they've never been highlighted anywhere. And I think that this has been an amazing way to just show that.
Yeah, I agree. And the pastors and priests of the diocese have, I think, entered into the spirit of it and have nominated people, which is great. And
one honoree per deanery.
Correct.
Right.
That's correct. Yeah. So there's 5 honorees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and the honorees year after year, they're not necessarily associated with Catholic Charities directly. It's not like they're necessarily
they're not associated at all usually.
Yeah, they just come from the parishes, and you know, and they just do great things. Sometimes they're individuals, sometimes they're groups. They really run the gamut in terms of people within the Diocese of Camden.
Right.
So it's real nice. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things actually is seeing those folks be able to go up to the lectern and to a round of applause, and you know, we get to talk about them.
And it's such a shame that this year they can't be up on stage and, you know, receive that kind of recognition, which usually they hate, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
They say, I don't want to be on stage. You know, they're always so humble when it comes to my purposes of marketing and getting pictures and videos and all of that. But this year it's still great that we'll be able to award these 5 honorees, which have not been formally announced yet. I don't know when this podcast is coming out.
You're welcome to formally announce them now if you'd like.
Well, one of them is not yet made aware.
Oh, okay.
So I just wanted to wait.
Okay. All right, then we'll keep our listeners guessing.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we're going to do a lot of promotion of it. So I guess maybe we should tell people what the virtual event is going to look like this year, since we've talked about how it's moved to virtual. Mary, you've put the whole thing together. So what are we doing this year?
Not quite. And it's still coming together.
No,
you know,
it's going to
be how many
days
days away? I have a countdown on my phone, and every day it causes panic and excitement and all sorts of emotions.
Well, it's October 8th, right?
Yes.
And we're doing it. It's a Thursday night, and I believe it's going to be at 6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
See?
Let's not confuse our listeners.
It's going to be at 6
p.m. Thursday, October 8th,
and
which was the original date of the dinner. The
Right.
actual physical dinner was going to be held that date.
And it's going to be broadcast on Catholic Charities of Camden's, South Jersey's Facebook page, their YouTube page, and it'll also you can find it on their website as well.
Which is www.catholiccharities.camden.org/JFA 2020.
That's right.
And from there, you can see exactly how you can watch this event, which is very simple. It's pretty much just clicking a link of your choice, whether it's our YouTube channel or our Facebook page. And you can also you can read more about our honorees. We haven't even mentioned our main honoree yet, but this year I'm excited for this. We're having a silent auction, which we have never done before, but those items are going to be posted on the website as well. I know a few of them. One of them is a helicopter tour around Philadelphia.
That'll be nice.
There's some really neat items on there, so I encourage everyone to check out, you know, that central page, and all of the information will be there.
That's right. And we're also going to use it, since we're doing it virtually this year, in some ways I might even say that our honorees might even get more of a bang for their buck, since typically it's always been in person and we haven't put up a lot of the Disciples of Mercy information, certainly not the video portions of what we do, up on our social media. But this year everything will be up on our social media, so people could be able to see themselves and the nice, lovely things we have to say about them.
Yep. And it's free and it's welcome to everyone.
That's right. Anybody can check it out.
And, Kevin, can you talk a little bit about the money being raised this year and how important?
So when can we talk about the honoree?
Oh, perhaps we should do that first.
Do you want to do it now? We can do it now.
I would like to do it now.
Would you like to announce our honoree?
Well, I'm proud to announce that. We're going to honor our bishop, Most Reverend Dennis Sullivan, with the St. John Neumann Award. Mm-hmm. I pronounce that the way
he will be thrilled.
Yes.
I always get mixed up. Does he pronounce it Neumann or is it actually pronounced? It's Newman, right?
Well,
this joke has been lost on me for 2 years, and I've been too scared to ask.
It's not a
until
joke,
now.
Bishop, is it? Everybody else, he knows. People mispronounce it.
It is actually Neumann.
He was from German origin, and the proper pronunciation is
Bohemia. Mr. Walsh.
You're right. You're absolutely right. The proper pronunciation is Neumann, but we here in the Delaware Valley area and most of the United States just Americanized it to Newman. But St. John Neumann is correct, and Bishop is nothing if not someone who enjoys pronouncing things correctly. So that's why. So it is. So whenever because ordinarily he would help us during the Justice for All dinner with the presentation of the St. John Neumann Award, and he always liked to.
And the Disciples of Mercy. He would hand out all the awards, right?
Right.
So how did we come about honoring him? Where did that idea come from?
Well, the first recipient of the John Neumann Award was Cardinal Tobin, mm-hmm. and of course that was nice symmetry because Bishop Neumann was a Redemptorist, mm-hmm. Cardinal Tobin was a Redemptorist. The second recipient was Sister Norma Pimentel, who works down on the border and who this diocese has developed a great relationship with over the last few years as we've sent pilgrims down there to experience life on the border. Then last year we honored His Eminence Cardinal Tagle, who at that time was the Archbishop of Manila but is now serving in the Vatican. Mm-hmm. Incidentally, I just saw in the paper that he was diagnosed with COVID.
Oh no, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So keep him in prayer. So this year we decided that we should honor Bishop Sullivan.
Yeah, no, Bishop Sullivan announced his 75th retirement this year, and it fell in March, and we felt it was the perfect time to make sure that we had an opportunity to honor him while he was still the bishop of the diocese, because quite frankly, he's been an ardent supporter of Catholic Charities since the moment he walked through the door.
So thank you for that. In some respects, I'm going to link him to St. John Neumann in the sense that St. John Neumann ministered in this diocese.
That's right. Yeah.
Because it was part of Philadelphia.
That's correct.
And I think Bishop Sullivan takes great delight in that. And I'm assuming St. John Neumann was wandering around here on horseback.
That is, it's funny because I had to do a historical search of the Diocese of Camden and how it was generated. We've been broken off of 5 different dioceses since this area has been broken. It started. We were all part of the Archdiocese of Baltimore when the Vatican originally. At one point, the Archdiocese of Baltimore was the entirety of the colonies. When we were here.
Gosh, I did not. You are a history buff. I forgot about that.
That's right. And then years later, the Archdiocese of Philadelphia was created, and we became part of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. And then separated from that, at one point was the Archdiocese of Newark, and then we were part of the Archdiocese of Trenton, and now in 1937, the Diocese of Camden was formed. But so all those many years ago, when South Jersey and all of New Jersey was still under, or most of New Jersey was still under Philadelphia, that was during the time period of John Neumann, and he absolutely would have been in charge of South Jersey. And I have not been able to find any historical records of him actually being in South Jersey. However, all of the texts suggest that he would have come through here to visit mission churches, or the mission churches would have come to visit him. So there would have been some connection.
What year would that have been, or century, or
now? When? See, Mary, now you've asked me a question that I don't have the answer to because I cannot recall. But I want to say the early.
It was the 19th century.
Yeah, I want to say the early 1800s.
So it's like 1830s.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my pre-Civil War.
Got it. I'm picturing it all in black and white, so I'm trying to get a feel for just how long ago it was.
I think they had color back then, but I'm not sure. I'll check.
But but let me get back to why I brought this notion of horseback. So Bishop Neumann did amazing things, right? Mm-hmm. On behalf of immigrants, Catholic education, and did it in a time when there was no internet and all that kind of thing. And so he was, sort of hidden. And I Bishop Sullivan is like that, it seems to me. This is a guy who really knows the life that poor people and vulnerable people lead. He knows their problems. He's not a show horse about it. Like, I'll just leave it at that.
No, he's very humble about it.
He's very humble. He's a workhorse.
Well, he has talked about it himself. As a matter of fact, we were discussing that he was recently on a Facebook Live interview with one of the parishes, and he really talked for quite some time about the uniqueness of him being named a vicar general in the Archdiocese of New York when he was named bishop, because he was a pastor, and the other guy that was installed with him was also a person who was a pastor, and it was still at that time, 15, 16 years ago, unusual for, you would usually make bishops out of administrators. It was unusual to come out of, that the pastors would be doing that. So it was particularly notable that he is a pastor who became a bishop. And I think he does take a great deal of pride in that. And it absolutely has, someone who looks from the outside in, impacted how he interacts with the pastors and the faithful in general, where he really talks to them as a pastor and not as a CEO. So I think that you're onto something with how you reference that, Kevin.
Yeah.
And I remember writing the announcement for the Catholic Star Herald, our diocesan newspaper, that we would be honoring Bishop, and I thought, okay, this could be easy. There's plenty of archives about Bishop. But then it dawned on me. I said, this is going to be the hardest thing I'll ever have to write, because how do I encapsulate somebody like Bishop, who, I personally know, but I felt like I was an FBI agent talking to all sorts of people who have known him longer than me, and, just digging through articles, learning more about him during his time in New York. And it really, for me, I've only ever known him as bishop, but learning about his early life in Catholic ministry was just really fascinating. Mm-hmm. His time in New York, where he ministered and lived among, like you said, Kevin, the poor, the working class, migrant communities, and I know he was sent to the Dominican Republic, where he learned Spanish, and still blows me away with how seamlessly he can transition from Spanish and English. And we've seen that at the prison masses, where he goes every year, multiple times a year, and how someone can say a mass in English and Spanish in an hour and switch seamlessly is beyond me. But and I didn't know this till recently, actually learned Mandarin and some Cantonese too, to minister to the Chinese population in New York City, which is amazing. And his transition to when he was ordained a bishop, I don't remember who told me this, but they were talking about Bishop Sullivan, and this, like you said, Mike, This person said he's able to, serve as an administrator, but he thinks like a pastor, and he acts like a pastor, and his love is for pastoral work. And we have seen that, so many examples of that, and how, his pastoral nature and how he walks among the people of this diocese. And we've seen that with, when he sat down with the Dreamers, for example, when they were in fear of being deported back to countries they have no memory of. I mean, there's just been so many examples of him sitting down with people, listening to what they have to say. And I think that's probably a rare thing when it comes to bishops.
Well, I don't want to offend
any bishops.
I don't want to disparage
the
other bishops, but he is, in my world, he's definitely been unique in the level of interaction he gives to people, and because he is a very low profile about that, a lot of people don't know that. And certainly say he's had to make some tough administrative decisions,
right,
which particularly this year I know are plaguing him a great deal. He had to, there were originally 5 schools that were closed in the diocese. Now it's 3 schools. 2 of them merged and was able to reopen. But, that's the kind of thing that weighs on him heavily. I mean, he had, this year or last year, the Dioceses of New Jersey, released their abusive priest lists. And, while he didn't hesitate at the possibility of that, he also knew the struggle that it was going to cause people, and the struggle that it would cause the diocese when we entered into the Independent Victims Compensation Program.
Yeah.
That was designed to offer opportunity to the sex abuse victims. And, these are a lot of really heavy topics that a bishop has to do. And I think, to bring it back to Catholic Charities, I think the fact that even though he's got all those heavy things to do, and he still continues to show the love that he has for what Catholic Charities does. And I mean, we talked about the support that he's given you when you came up with your harebrained idea to start sending people to the border of McAllen, Texas. What did it take? 2 seconds for him to support that idea, the entire Share the Journey initiative.
Yeah, do it, he said.
Yeah,
that in thinking about him, what I would have hoped is that I would have had 20 more harebrained ideas for him to offer him, because I've always he's a great leader, and I've always wanted to be worthy of that, and I've always wanted his Catholic Charity Agency to be worthy of him. And that seems to me that's the mark of a leader, that he engenders that desire in me to keep pushing, keep working, to keep thinking of things. I mean, I think, and I've heard priests. I'll never forget 2 priests who met him, and they said to me that they were going to retire. Maybe put in early if that's appropriate. I don't know what. How they say that, but they got a load of this guy. I thought, no, I'm not retiring. I want to work for him. I want to stick around, and boy, there's high praise right there. Right?
Yeah.
I would tend to agree. That's and in which case, everything we've sort of described, and we're going to go into more detail at the Justice for All award ceremony. I keep saying dinner. I know it just rolls.
Mike.
Just
Don't
rolls
get
off
people's
the tongue.
hopes up.
It just rolls off the tongue. And we'll go into more of that. But I think we've given people a lot of examples of why he's certainly a deserving recipient.
And I have to add this, it reminds me, Kevin, what you just said, that the energy that he has, the days where I'm, days like today, it's raining, it's dreary, I'm tired. And if you think about him, I'm picturing right now the wedding of the sea, him on that lifeboat, which you, Mike, captured an amazing picture of, which got awarded by the Catholic Press Association.
Thank you.
But there's Bishop in this boat that's like at a 90-degree angle in the ocean,
just to go out and do the blessing of the sea, to sort of marry the sea to the city.
And he has that energy. He does the confirmations. He loves visiting the schools. He loves being out and about. And I saw his schedule a couple times. I said, "Oh my gosh, how
COVID?
How does he do this all?"
The COVID times have been terrible for him because it flies in the face of everything he wants to be. He wants to be in the parishes all the time. He wants to be in the schools all the time. He visited, we encouraged him. I encouraged him not to visit the schools at the opening of the school year. I said, we could just do a video message, and he was like, no. I'm going to go and I'm going to visit. And I'm going to get all masked up. And he's also got a special face shield. And so the first school that he went to, he stayed outdoors and he greeted the kids as they came in with a wave and the occasional elbow bump with one of the kids as they would come in. But he really wanted to be there and support them. And then he did the same thing a day later, went to another school and took a little tour, socially distanced. All the protections were in place. But just because he thought it was really important, he wanted to make sure that people understood, not only the people there, that their bishop was supporting them, but he also wanted to make sure that the people around the diocese, they saw his commitment to not only Catholic school education, but everything that the schools in our diocese were doing to ensure Catholic education and to make it at all possible for kids to actually be back in school by making sure that everybody was wearing their masks and taking care of their social distancing. And, the fact that the reason we are able to do it is because discipline is such an important part of the Catholic school experience, and that we have that discipline to make sure that our students will be protected in that situation. Right. So hopefully that'll continue to go positively.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, prayers raised, rosaries prayed to, whatever it's going to take to make it happen. But he's a fine example of a good bishop and an example of, I would like to believe, the unofficial motto of Catholic Charities, right? Is that the unofficial motto or the motto? Matthew 25.
Yes, it's our reason for being, and that's another thing. He Bishop takes that so seriously. The Church's ongoing commitment, not only historical but current and into the future, of reenacting day in and day out Jesus' summons to us and exhortation and commandment, really, to feed the hungry, visit people in prison.
Yeah.
Can I share memories? So this is my only chance, really. And I think you all were there maybe when this happened, and it was a visit to prison. And the reading was the genealogy of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And it's it's lengthy,
that.
And and it goes on and on and on. And I remember listening to the gospel reading in the prison. I don't remember which prison it was.
Maybe Southwood State Prison,
I was
somewhere in Salem, Cumberland.
I thought it was one of the state
New
prisons.
Jersey. Yeah.
And I thought, well, what's he going to do with this? It was a magnificent sermon, and he was speaking to people in prison, obviously, people who've been convicted of crimes, all manner of crimes, bad stuff. And he pointed out to these, I'm going to say men and women, that these people who Jesus was related to, they weren't all nice people.
Right.
There were a lot of sinners in there.
Right.
And his point being, he was descended from people like, we in the audience, the people in prison were. And it was just such a wonderful sermon. And to your point, Mary, he was going back and forth.
Yep.
English, Spanish, English. But it was, and I thought this is what Pope Francis was talking about, the kind of church and the kind of people he wanted, who could be out with the people and who knew the people. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that sermon was reflective of his deep knowledge of people, of their foibles, their causes.
And he said that all without, being condescending or anything. Like the way he's able to articulate that kind of message. I had the same thought as you. How is he gonna, make this come to life, But he did. Mm-hmm. And after every mass, he also stands and shakes hands with every single inmate. Greets them, gives them a blessing, and it's just amazing to see. It's like you wouldn't think this is a bishop and someone who's incarcerated. They're two people, and he just sees the humanity in each and every one of them. And it reminds me. Oh, sorry.
I don't know how he does it. I've been around him probably as much as anybody else, and it still blows me away the way he interacts with people. Which is, he's very much into accompaniment and going to the margins and really trying to make inroads, and in that regard, I think what he does is an example of what we should all be doing, certainly more of. I know it's the very nature of Catholic Charities, but I say this as not an employee of Catholic Charities. It's definitely something I need to do a better job of. And in that regard, I think he's an example that people should, I hope, be interested in learning more of at the Justice for All dinner on October 8th at 6 p.m. on all your social media channels.
Every 5 minutes of this podcast, we need to chime in with the date, time, and link.
It's a good segue, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm good that way. Yeah. Mary, well, actually, this is really a question for all three of us. So some people might be asking why we made that call to go virtual, and we kind of dragged our feet on it, to be completely truthful, because we were hoping beyond hope that we were going to be able to figure out some way of doing this in person, because the nature of the event is wonderful. It's really an uplifting event, and it's really an opportunity to sort of bring folks together and showcase the good works of Catholic Charities and give people an opportunity to donate and be a part of Catholic Charities. And we just couldn't do it. I mean, we were looking into, could we do a hybrid version where we maybe had a small group of people and then people would gather in their parishes in groups? And,
there were so many ideas.
I forgot about that one.
And this was back in, February, then March, and then, oh my gosh, everything's shutting down. Are the casinos, is resorts even going to be open? Are we all going to be confined to our homes? Like, there was no way of knowing what was going to happen.
Right. So we probably, hindsight being 2020, we could have made our lives a lot easier if we had determined in April that we weren't going to do this, but all the way into midsummer where we were still trying to figure out a way of doing it. But the truth of the matter was there just was no way of doing it without being able to guarantee safety.
Right.
And honestly, a lot of the feedback we were getting was that people still weren't comfortable coming together.
Yeah. We did hear that.
Since we knew that it looked like the governor wasn't going to open up for larger gatherings, and we knew that amongst our own people there was some pushback that, we'll just go fully virtual and we'll turn it into a new kind of event. So it's going to be, we don't know how long it's going to be yet, but my guess is it'll be somewhere around an hour of a show. To think of it as a TV show specifically related to Catholic Charities and honoring all these people that we've been talking about. You're going to
make it as exciting as possible.
Yeah, and for anyone who's been to a Justice for All dinner in previous years, you've known that whoever the guy running the show is, me, keeps it on a tight timeline. We get everything done quickly, on time, right up until Mr. Hickey takes the stage.
Kevin's nodding his
and then the entire program goes off the rails, and he decides to talk for 15 minutes about usually something esoteric. And
the angriest I've ever seen you, Mike, has been when we're on the side of the stage and you're looking at your carefully meticulous plan for the scripts and the timing, and I'm looking at the clock and I'm listening to Kevin and I'm looking at you the minute he goes over his allotted time, and he's in a rage, and all the
really?
fun
He
behind.
says mean things?
Oh, he doesn't say anything. I don't think he can even talk. He's
smoldering.
Yes.
apoplectic when that happens.
He and the Vicar General, who texts, is texting while you're going over.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bishop, our lovely bishop who we're honoring, came from the Archdiocese of New York, and he's always had this philosophy. Apparently, there's a philosophy up there that you end things at 9 o'clock. They end at 9 o'clock.
I love it.
Which I appreciate.
Which is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the last 3 years, it has been 9:03, 9:05, 9:04.
But who's counting, right?
Once I wanted to be done at 9 o'clock. I don't want, not 8:59, 9 o'clock on the news.
Yeah.
And it's always whatever those 4 minutes extra that Kevin gives. It's like every single time.
It's all my fault.
So this year.
Well, this year we'll be spared from that.
That's right, because we're editing this one, and I'm going to edit all your garbage right out of there.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to be done on time. I'm so excited about it. The whatever wonderful thing you're telling the public that they need to hear, I'm just going to cut out.
Oh gosh.
It's going to have a completely different look and feel this year, so it should be fun.
Yeah.
But it's exciting.
And the irony is it'll probably be more Kevin this year than in previous years.
Moly.
So.
That's exciting. I can't wait.
You lead a dull life, Mary.
Kevin, can you talk? So obviously this year has just been all around crazy and different in every way. Can you talk a little bit about what it's been like for Catholic Charities and the struggles that people have been facing in the wake of the pandemic, and just how important funding is for this Justice for All fund?
So Mary, you'll recall that we made a brief tape recording. I'm dating myself. Wow.
Tape recording. I remember those when I was 3 years old.
We brought out the reel-to-reel. And
we did a video talking about the pandemic. So this must have been
it seems
early March. And what I was saying at the time, it's still on our website, and is this is one more disaster.
Yeah.
And you did a really nice piece as well about with some nice music about our experience in disaster response, which goes back to 9/11.
Wow.
But then the Hurricane Katrina and subsequent hurricanes, we realized, like everybody else, that climate change was happening and that we could expect to see more natural disasters. And we thought we need to get we need to develop some expertise there, which we've done. So when this COVID pandemic was raising its head, I thought, well, here's another disaster. And sure enough, we've very quickly, thanks to the help of our IT folks and the finance department, we were able to, even though we were shut physically, we were able to keep working virtually. We pushed a lot of money out the door between March 1st and July 1st, $600,000 in pandemic relief. So obviously we're still in the pandemic. I wouldn't be surprised if New Jersey has to shutter again in the fall, maybe, right?
And I know some of the food distributions that we've had, which we go about very, very safely. People don't even have to get out of their cars. There are people showing up who are embarrassed, and it's sad to see and hear people say things like, I never ever thought I would end up at a charity, almost trying to justify to the case managers and staff, I'm not poor, that type of embarrassment almost. And it's sad to see, but it's a reminder of just there's a whole new population affected by this pandemic. We serve the poorest of the poor and the vulnerable, but with people out of work, they need basic supplies, food, clothing, diapers. And when I feel like this changes every day, the status of the moratorium on rent, I don't think that has been lifted yet.
No, it's still in place. Yeah.
But when it is lifted, I can only imagine what that's going to look like, because and our staff they've been doing a great job at telling clients, it's illegal for you to be evicted, but your rent is still eventually going to be due. Just because you don't have to pay it right now, there's going to be a time when you have to pay all of it. And of course, we've offered counseling, housing counseling, and assistance whenever we can. But I imagine, and I'm dreading, what that's going to look like when suddenly their rent is due. And that will probably, I don't know when that'll happen, but I can't imagine how much money will go out the door then.
Yeah, there's a lot of, there is already a lot of reckoning with, and people have lost their jobs. And so in that respect, it's reminiscent of the recession back in 07, 08, where a lot of people lost their jobs. So that's happening now. So and we don't know how long this is going to go on.
Right.
I heard the CDC director say, well, the vaccine wouldn't be available maybe till mid-2021. So.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So, anyways, we really need the money. Again, I'll say all the money raised from this event is used for direct assistance to poor and vulnerable people across the diocese. It really is helpful. We have, for all parishes, we have a special phone number just for parishes where they can call us and make referrals. This money is used because many times those referrals are unusual situations, and the people are maybe not, as Mary was describing, not desperately poor, but have hit a rough patch. And so we're seeing a lot of that right now during the COVID pandemic. And this JFA money is very helpful for that. Mm-hmm. So it's just a great, it's literally bread from heaven. So I really thank people for anybody who can support us in any way possible. We're very, very grateful.
And it probably goes without saying that you don't have to feel the need to only donate to the JFA. You're allowed to donate year-round to your Catholic Charities. And if you want to learn more about how you can donate to Catholic Charities in the Diocese of Camden, you can go to catholiccharities.camden.org. And certainly, we know this broadcast is listened to in dioceses all around New Jersey and the world. There are Catholic Charities in every diocese in the United States. So if you're listening to this elsewhere, by all means, feel free to support your other Catholic charities. I mean,
that was nice, Mike.
Well,
it was very good. That's very magnanimous of
that's
you.
Right.
Yes.
Please, by all means.
Yeah.
But if you're in South Jersey, us. But beyond that, definitely look out for your other Catholic charities because they're
and it's been,
because what you're doing here is similar to what's going on everywhere else in Catholic relief services internationally. So it's not like the need is just here. So if you're in the Trenton Diocese, certainly help out our friends in Trenton, and same Newark and Metuchen and Philadelphia and the Archdiocese of New York.
So can I give a shout out particularly to Catholic Charities of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they were kind enough. Mary and Stacy had a phone call with them, some of their colleagues who have put on virtual events. So thank them for that.
Yes, it made me feel better and worse at the same time to talk to them because, they were so helpful with the suggestions they had and just talking about, their annual fundraiser and the challenges that they're facing. And, they said, we've gone to a lot of people who've supported us in the past, but they said, look, we're struggling. Sorry, but we can't support you this year. They talked about some of the logistical challenges that they were facing, and they had some really, really great ideas too. So I'm very grateful to them. And on one hand, I left that meeting thinking, okay, it's not just us.
No,
I don't want to say
not.
we're all in this together because I'm so sick of hearing that phrase. But, especially with
Mary, we are all in this together. It's a perfectly reasonable question.
It's true, but
you
it's
can also
tired.
have thoughts and prayers for people as well. You're going to hammer that one too? My goodness, Mary.
It's too early to come back with
these heartless millennials, Mr. Hickey. I don't understand.
Here we
It's
go.
so difficult.
Gosh.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It's just written everywhere. It's on every we are all in it together, though.
We are all together. Change the
God,
channel,
now
Mary.
you're making me feel guilty.
No, you're feeling guilty all on your own.
We gotta, yeah.
By the way, Mike, I want you to know I got a package sent to me the other day from New Mexico.
Oh, did you?
3 big bottles of green chilies.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
That's awfully nice of the good people of Albuquerque.
nice.
Very
That's nice.
Well, you both were there last year, was it?
Yeah, actually, this time.
Probably this time last year.
Yes.
And I'm so jealous because you went to the places where Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad were filmed, and
I have a great photograph of that, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
One of the bars where that was featured in the TV show Better Call Saul. That was great. Although I remember that trip not quite as lovingly because I ended up having to work the entire time. I
recall that.
Yeah, I kept having to pull myself out of sessions and take care of stuff back here. But it was that was a lovely place to be, and that's for anyone who ever wants to go anywhere. Albuquerque is. I encourage it. It's beautiful and great food. I must say that I was well fed the entire time I was there. And Mr. Hickey
I told you he was going to talk about food at some point during the podcast.
It was nice, and I was so happy that Kevin took me out to dinner one night to this great steak place.
Oh, that was nice.
That was wonderful. As a matter of fact, and that was with the director of
Jim Gannon.
Jim Gannon.
Yeah. So that was a wonderful experience. Sorry you couldn't be there, Mary, but that's all right. It was great for us.
I was here panicking and sweating this time last year, getting ready for JFA. But I know you both were thinking about it the whole time you were there, too.
Come to think of it, as I remember correctly, I took you out for dinner at the JFA before dinner because we never eat during the JFA because we're always...
You said, I can't have you fainting. Let's eat. And I appreciated that because I did forget to eat that whole day.
And then we all went out after that's actually the thing that was the hardest is knowing that we don't have our after party after the Justice for All dinner. Not this after party, but
last year at Resorts, it was, I don't even remember the name of that place with your cheeseburger on top of the waffle inside of the milkshake or whatever crazy combination they had of drinks and food. I've never seen anything like it. And I can't remember what it's called.
That is a staple of event management is the post event because it requires so much energy to put these events on, and you're so filled with anxiety that once they're finally done, whether you call it a wrap party or dinner afterwards or go out for drinks or something like that, it is just as important as the event itself because you've had all this energy built up over the course of months, and you finally get it done, and everything, God willing, is successful, and then it happens and then the event ends, and you are still hopped up on all this energy.
Yes,
you really need to
something cathartic.
Exactly. Typically our events are done at 9 or 9:05 if Mr. Hickey is speaking, and then but I don't go to bed till 2 a.m. because you're just so energized.
It's true.
So I just on that note, I'll express thanks again, Mike, to you and to Mary because I know you guys are pulled in many different directions. So. Catholic Charities is very grateful for your expertise and commitment to this event.
Thank you. I'm happy to be a part of it. I mean, Mary gets paid to do it, but I do it voluntarily, so I'm thrilled to be here. So, no, it is, as I recall, when I first came to the diocese, I had to wedge my way in because I had thoughts about the JFA, and I originally, I forget how I coerced people to let me to be part of the planning committee. But I finally
you get involved in these committees and then you complain about your involvement and how many committees you're on, and then
because I'm not very bright. I have ideas and I got to remember to keep these things to myself.
You have if someone wrote a history of this event, you would get a couple chapters just your influence on it. So
well, it's been my pleasure because the truth of the matter is, for all the headaches that event management tends to cause, I've been fortunate that the events I've been a part of are all been things that I feel very strongly about, and this was certainly one that did. I think one of my first assignments, actually, when I came to the diocese in 2015. I think we were running low on photographers at that time, so I said I would go and photograph the JFA for the Catholic Star Herald, our newspaper. And I went to it. I remember thinking to myself, "Wow, this is such a great event." And and I couldn't actually. The thing that really blew me away was just how many people were there, and I mean, very well attended. Really, people very interested in the honor. I think that was the first year of the Disciples of Mercy. I hadn't been part of the leadership team yet, but I remember seeing the 5 people come up, and it was great. And it was just really, it was just such. It's such a lovely event. If you don't live in South Jersey and you have something similar to this in your area, by all means support it and go to it. And if you live in South Jersey, when we can start having these things physically again, you got to come to the Justice for All dinner because it really is a thoroughly enjoyable experience. The last couple of years it's been in Atlantic City, and Resorts Hotel does a great job of supporting it, and great food, good experience. Well, Kevin, thank you very much.
Mark,
good luck with everything.
Mary,
thank you.
And Mary, thank you for setting this up. And listeners, thank you for being a part of it.
I actually listened to your podcast.
But that's
yes.
that's wonderful to hear because I drop in Kevin Hickey references all the time.
They're good, and they're great when I'm sitting at my desk, and I've got to sign things or something, and it's just it's a great way to.
Thank you very much. Yeah. That's very kind of you. Yeah, well, then I'm going to keep dropping in Kevin Hickey references, just knowing that you listen.
No, that's not why I listen.
I'm gonna
always assuming the worst in us.
Anyway, well, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll chat with you again next week. See ya.